Putin bad news. The death of Prigozhin culminates a bleak year for Putin's nationalist supporters. Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin's sudden death has many Russians who support the war infuriated at the defense ministry, the Russian government, and even Vladimir Putin. The vocal members of this influential group, who are generally considered Putin's electoral base, have been increasingly critical of what they see as Russia's lack of commitment and aggression in the Ukraine conflict. But now that group, which has supported Putin's regime for nearly a quarter of a century, is increasingly being targeted by the very regime it has supported. In the past year, over a dozen of the war's staunchest supporters have been demoted, jailed, or even killed. A Russian surface-to-air missile strike, an onboard explosion, and careless handling of munitions are among the theories put forth as to what caused the crash of the 62-year-old mercenary chief's private jet in Russia's Tver Oblast on Tuesday, but many are convinced that Putin was behind it in some capacity. Even though Prigozhin's body hasn't been officially identified, the Russian president has already said his goodbyes to the man also known as Putin's chef, as he was photographed standing in front of an orchestra shortly after the news of his death broke. "I've known Prigozhin since the early 1990s, so it's been a long time. His life was not going to be simple." Putin said during a televised speech on Thursday that the former president made some serious mistakes in his life, but he also achieved the needed results, both for himself and, when I asked him to, for the common cause. After accusing the Russian military of attacking his troops and leading a brief but memorable mutiny in late June, Prigozhin, a former close ally and supporter of Putin, fell out of favor with the Kremlin. Prigozhin appeared to have made a deal with Putin that would see him exiled to neighboring Belarus, but Russia watchers were skeptical that he would escape retribution, especially after Putin accused the coup leaders of treason. The mercenary troops stopped short of trying to take the Kremlin and eventually returned to their camps. Earlier in August, Bellingcat investigator Christo Grozev told the Financial Times, "Everyone knows what they do with traitors, and Putin hasn't done that. His goal is to have him killed. He isn't ready to do that. Either Prigozhin will be dead or there will be another coup in 6 months. To be honest, I don't have a strong opinion either way." Shortly after the allegations surfaced, Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov slammed them as an absolute lie, and urged the public to wait for the results of an official investigation into the crash before drawing any conclusions. Prigozhin's death ends a rough patch for some of Russia's most visible and influential hawks, including some former and current supporters of Putin, whether or not the Kremlin was involved. Although the Russian government has a long history of repressing the country's liberal opposition, hundreds of Putin and war critics like Alexei Navalny have been imprisoned, exiled, or killed. In recent months, it has been the right-wing and nationalistic figures who have been hit hard. Igor Girkin, a former Russian military commander turned blogger, was arrested on charges of discrediting the military and inciting extremism, just weeks before the Prigozhin jet crash. After the convicted war criminal Girkin, also known as Strelkov, unleashed a scathing rant against Putin and his top military chiefs, new laws introduced shortly after Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine were applied to him.